you want a Warboss for your WoW that isn't as puny as the Games Workshop default, you have three main options. Convert the Orc Megaboss into an Orc, buy a third-party model like Artel Miniatures Iron Boss, or get the new Gaz model. None of these options are cheap. The Megaboss is $40 plus the cost of additional bits. The Iron Boss is also $40, and Gaz is $60. Now, on this channel I converted a multitude of bigger orcs, but those conversions are usually pretty complicated and not always cheap. For this video, I wanted to do something a little different and set myself a challenge. Could I create a cheap Warboss that anyone could put together? One that's cheaper than any of the current options but still looks good? As a base, I'm using an $8 D&D Ogre I got off of eBay. It's not the highest quality figure, but has a nicely dynamic stance, and in size is about the same as the new Gaz model. I started by decapitating him and then shaving off the spikes from his pauldrons. While spiked pauldrons are perfectly orky, in this case they looked cheap, and I need to shave them off to layer new, properly orky ones over them. I also snipped off his hook weapon. You can pick any Mega Knob head for your Warboss depending on what energy and character you want him to have, but for me I liked this upsized one I cast out of resin. Before we get any farther, it's worth pointing out that the cost I'm listing for each bit I add is taken from a dedicated bit site, not the whole kit it's from. If you're interested in learning more about bit sites, check out the video I made on them. To start arming my Warboss, I sliced off the fist I'd cut the hook from. Once it was off, I drilled into it so I could pin a weapon there and use green stuff to attach the fist back at an angle that was more dynamic and natural than the oddly stiff one it's originally at. Once it was in place, I started testing out different knob choppers. My favorite is this buzzsaw one. It unfortunately already has hands attached, so I snipped and scraped those off. I snipped off the end, drilled into the haft, and pinned it with a wire to my Warboss's arm. With the altered fist angle, it has a really great sense of mid-movement to it. A true Warboss needs to be able to dish out Daka as well as hack at enemies, so I picked this Mega Knob one for my Warboss. I hollowed out the back of it so that I could fit it to the back of my Warboss's forearm. Getting a good fit also requires shaving off the back, but once glued, it fit well. For my Warboss's other arm, I picked the saw blade from a Mega Knob, which I thought would go well with the punching forward motion of it. I eventually replaced it though, so I won't be adding the cost. To get it to fit over the existing fist, I hollowed out the back just as I had with the gun for the other arm. With his weapon in place, it was time to armor my Warboss. I sliced off more of the model's original pauldrons and glued in their place the pair from a Killican. I also added 4 knob and Mega Knob pauldrons to his right arm to further armor it, and one to the right. They and the boy ones are cheap, but an effective way of building up texture and heft. As a power source for his weapons, I add 1/2 of a Def Dread's engine to his back. To make space for more armor, I removed the skulls from his belt, clipped off his belt buckle, and shaved down some of his upper harness. For his breastplate, I started with this armor plate from a Def Dread. To build it up, I cut the strip of plastic card and glued it beneath the armor plate, then repeated the process with another strip to create a segmented look that I then glued to his chest. While I'd originally thought about using this Warboss wheel guard as an iron jaw, it looked dumb, so I instead opted for the Mega Knob one. I clipped off the inside of the armor plates from a Killican and glued them to either hip to broaden his silhouette. For knee pads, I used a pair of Ogren pauldrons and this casting of Bullgrin armor tread for crotchal armor. This is the iron fist of an Age of Sigmar ogre. I clipped off the blade portions to leave just the armor plate, then glued 2 of them as shin armor beneath the Ogren pauldrons. I later undid all this work by replacing the knee pads with the pauldrons from the Flash Gits kit and moving the ogre armor to his thighs. While the saw blade for his left arm worked well, I'm simply too fond of orc power claws to not replace it with one. To get the desired effect, I combined 2 that came in the Mega Knob kit, one with 2 shorter claws and one with a single long one. I wanted to position the claw differently than the default, so I split the claws from the metal fist portion and used green stuff to angle them in a little more dynamic of a way. I didn't attach just yet though, as the green stuff needed to solidify. While it did so, I filled out the back of the Warboss with the gas can from a Killican, and sliced off the ammo belt from a Flash Gits pole. To create shin guards, I used a combination of green stuff and milliput to smooth what looked passably like armor plates. On his shoulders, I added the pole from a Mega Knob. My Warboss was looking tough and armored, but he had a fatal weakness: his bare feet. To replace them, I snipped them off and sliced down the bottoms to leave stumps. This is the foot from a Killican. It was a little too big for my Warboss, so I sliced off the side toes. To affix the stumps of the Warboss to his new shoes, I used globs of green stuff. I didn't have to, but the angle of his feet has always slightly bothered me, so I cut open the left Killican foot so it would have a more springing forward pose. To hide the ankle joint, I glued in place the shoulder plates from the Knobs kit. And with that, my budget Warboss was done. The final tally for him comes in at roughly €18 or $30 American. That's $10 under the Age of Sigmar Megaboss, well under any of the other Warboss options, and he doesn't look too shabby if I do say so myself. If you'd like to buy this Warboss, I'm selling him on eBay, so head over there and bid whatever you're comfortable with. Before that though, hit the like button, subscribe, or check out some of my other conversions. Thanks for watching.